Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Rams Brothers, the pod. I'm the host, and this is the other host, Nick. I'm the host of this show, Dene. This is the other host of this show, Nick. Been doing this intro for 90 episodes, and I messed it up. Nick, how are you? I think we're both a little bit hungover from last night, Thursday night football. It was your birthday. How are you today?
I am not feeling good right now in this very moment, but I'm happy that we got the victory all night. I think I was this close to having a heart attack. There was a point where Gay missed the extra point, and it was like it was from a movie. I'm not in control of my body or anything that I do at that point. So I take off my hat and I just throw it. And my friend is sitting on the couch, and the hat comes about this close to hitting him in the face. If it was a blade, it would have just banged on the couch, like right next to him. And he gave me like a movie look, like, oh.
I'll tell you what, you live in a cinematic universe, that's for sure. But no, it's that game for whatever reason felt very cinematic, and it's the same way that all Rams and Seahawks games feel. It's like the epitome of the Rams and Seahawks rivalry. Hard fought, low scoring. Both quarterbacks broke their fingers on their throwing hand. It was one of those hard-fought battles that felt very much like it was cinematic and out of a movie. But, why don't we talk about real quick, while you're talking about your hangover or whatever you drank last night, why don't you introduce the listeners to our sponsor for this episode?
Rams Brothers are sponsored by Brew X, best brewery in Anaheim. IPAs, hard seltzers, you name it, they got it. Over 30 beers and 10 hard seltzers. Curbside pickup 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Open every day, 11 a.m. to midnight. Definitely try to get the slap and tickle. It's always our favorite.
What did you drink last night?
Rolling Rock and this drink that I like to call Nicky Spritz.
Please tell the listeners what the hell is in that drink.
Nicky Spritz is vodka, 1 ice cube, and that Mickey Mouse juice that you get at like Ralph's or Vaughn's. It's called like Oops All Berry Blast or something.
What the hell? A Nicky Spritz. I'll tell you what.
I had one of those, sipping back on a little cough medicine just to kind of ease the pain and tension, and it didn't help. And but hey, we got the victory. I was a little bit of a buffoon on Twitter, some would say. I was kind of going nuts with all these takes saying how I miss Jared and all this stuff, and I think it's absolutely justifiable based on the performance I saw the first 3 quarters of that game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that when you say first 2 quarters, he was better in the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, he got a little shaky. But no, listen, it's tweeting. We might as well address this right at the top of the episode. Live tweeting is a game in its own, right? So if you're going to watch the game, you decide to live tweet, it's going to be based off of emotion. I think people are allowed to express their opinions and how they feel. And sometimes negativity, when your team is as good as they are or as good as they're supposed to be, negativity is justified, right? And sometimes you don't want to ignore some of the things just because you got an ugly win in crunch time on Thursday night against a division rival. There are some things that stand out that steer you in the direction of, okay, maybe this team isn't all they're souped up to be, and that's the issue, right? You have these sky high expectations for a team that's supposed to make a deep playoff run, and when they come out of the gate slow, even though it is a short week, you have the right reason to be frustrated or negative or however you want to look at it until things go right. So
it's also every single game up until this point they've coming out the gate slow. So short week this, short week that. Yeah, no, I understand, but they have not looked good on a drive, like a starting drive once this year, which is the scripted drive, which is the one that you plan for most. So that is something that just irritates me because that's something that like a young team would mess up with. This team is led by all people and like veterans around the league. So you would hope that that's something that doesn't happen, but it seems to happen every single week.
Yeah, it's strange, right? In the beginning of this game, some of the big moments, takeaways that we'll talk about just with the offense, the first 3 series were mind-boggling, right? The Stafford overthrew his cup on the first series of the drive, forcing a punt. He did the same thing on the following drive to Van Jefferson on the same side of the sideline. And then on the Rams' third series, offensively, quickly marches the Rams down the field thanks to Robert Woods, who was very well on his way early on in this game to a breakout night. And he finally did break out. And then on a 2nd and goal, he makes one of the worst mistakes a veteran could possibly make in the red zone. Go ahead. We're going to show the video. I know you probably don't want to see it again, or maybe you do because you're.
I want to see it, Mr.
All right,
all these. Oh, look, it's Matthew Goff.
Here we go.
Goal. Stafford throws it, and it's picked by Diggs. Was he in? And he was.
I had to keep it on for the flapping because that was just one of the most irritating moments of the entire game. The 12's in Seattle, that stadium was extremely loud. But again, a mistake that you just cannot make. I don't know if he was trying to throw the ball away. It didn't look like he's trying. Looks like he was
just
trying to
throw it away if you have no, if you have no one. Don't leave it in bounds.
It looked like he was dragging across the back of the end zone, probably a route that was fully developed, and then he just tried to break into something where he could try to get himself open, right? And I think he stopped when Stafford thought he was going to drag across the end zone, and then Quandre Diggs makes a hell of a play and secures the interception. But like, what are you thinking in that series? You know what I mean? What are you trying to force? Throw the ball away. For a veteran quarterback, it's not a mistake that you want to see in Week 5.
I think this marriage of McVay and Stafford is kind of nutty because both of these guys, and we'll talk about it once we break down the whole game and go into the offense, but especially in the 3rd and 4th, it's like you're playing your like younger cousin in Madden, and it's just deep pass play every single time. And it's like, stop. Like, you're not going to win every single game by just like hawking it up downfield like every single time. And it ended up working out for him somehow. I have no idea how they were able to come out with a victory here, but they did.
No, it's an interesting analogy. Well, here's the thing too. You can't have it both ways. One side of the fan base was underwhelmed with Jared Goff's yards per attempt, yards per completion. And then you bring in Stafford, who likes to air the ball out, and then that's too much. That's too aggressive. So there's got to be a happy medium somewhere. I still think the Rams offense is looking for that. They had a couple of pass plays later on in this game, especially in the 3rd quarter, where they were able to get 15, 20-yard chunk plays, move the ball down the field really quickly in a 2-minute period and score. So there were some positives. But, Nick, I don't know, to your point, I think that's always going to be a constant. If you're going to weigh Goff versus Stafford the entire year, you have to understand who the players are, right? Because, you have a situation where you have Jared Goff could have dinked and dunked his way down that game, maybe won the game by 6 or 7 points the same way Stafford did. But you still need the explosive plays, right? You just are hoping for some more consistency from Stafford. And once he gets that, it's not going to be an argument between Goff or Stafford and who could have won this game. So I still think, you're kind of getting through the quirks of, working with a new offense in the first 4 or 5 weeks. And now you enter a stretch in the season, Nick. What do you got? The Giants, then the Texans, the Titans coming up. There's another team in there. The Lions, right, that we're going to that game that aren't very good. So you have a stretch of games where you could get things on track and figure out a way to be consistent and be the quarterback that he was in the first 3 weeks of the season. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Are you just I understand the emotional tweets, but like what is it about Stafford outside of just some of the irrational mistakes that he makes that gets on your nerves? I think a combination probably got to be a combination.
It was advertised
too, right?
Huh?
It's got to be a combination of what McVay does too, right?
It's the different play calling that you're getting from McVay right now as well that adds to my frustration. But like you're advertised somebody that like they went out and they almost like kind of stomped on their future and they're like, this is it. This is our guy now. We're not going to develop Jarrett. We're going to get somebody that's fully developed. And when he goes out there and plays a game that mimics how Jarrett would play the game, and then he turned it around in the 3rd and the 4th. So, there's that. But when he's going to go out and do that, you have to kind of be like, why did we do this at all? Like, where is the plus side? What is he bringing that is not, or that we didn't already have? That like the misses early on. And I mean, just that clip that you just showed, it's just bringing it all back. I'm sorry. I'm getting emotional.
No, I know. Well, it's the recency bias too with the Goff interception. And then you get it, 5 weeks into this season with Stafford, and then you want to just rip your hair out. And then, too, one of the things with McVay, I talked about just kind of coupling and compounding mistakes. and snowballing into what looked like a really unaggressive offense. They had a lack of aggression early on, right? That 3rd and 10 call to Henderson, I think it was the 4th or 5th series in this game. I think it was the 4th, where the Rams were stopped short and forced a punt. Like, that's just a pure lack of aggression. I don't know if that was Stafford not trusting, or that was McVay not trusting Stafford at that point of the game because there were so many errant throws, overthrows early on in the game, or if it was just McVay overthinking some of his early scripted series. But either one, whichever way you want to go with it, I understand your frustration, right? Especially early on in this game. So I don't think it's irrational just to kind of come out of left field and say, "Oh, I miss Jared Goff," when you make a mistake like that, because if that's how you feel, and you don't want to see those same kind of mistakes, and you've been told the whole offseason, especially you, by me and by other fans, that this is a guy that's going to come in and not make those mistakes. Like, why would you not throw your hat across the room? So, I mean, I'm just trying to justify what you think maybe is a little bit craziness, but which is what I think a lot of other people are feeling too at the same time.
Yeah, it's just we invest so much, and I called you and Dad throughout that game, and I just said, sometimes I wish I didn't care this much and I didn't invest this much, but there's nothing I can do. I am in 100%, and when you just give yourself entirely to something else like that, whether it be football or another person, you're going to get emotional and you're going to go nuts.
Sure.
And that's just how it is.
Hey, you live with the emotions on your sleeve. I think other people may carry it differently. Some people probably carry it exactly the same way that you do, which makes this interesting, right? So just kind of getting through the first half, their 5th offensive series. I know we talked about some frustrations with McVay and Stafford, but I think this was the most aggravated I've been throughout an entire series throughout the season so far. So up to this point, the Rams went punt, interception, punt on 22 total plays against one of the worst defenses in the entire league, definitely in the division prior to this series, right? So this was the first drive that they really kind of started to feature Sony Michel. So Michel led the way for carries of 6 yards, 15 yards, 3 yards. And then you're at the point in this drive where there's 4 minutes left to go in the half on Seattle's 24-yard line. And McVay elects to throw one time in the next 4 minutes. So he has a total of 6 plays. So in a 6-play period, you have Matthew Stafford on your team. You're on Seattle's 24-yard line. You elect to throw the ball once. What are you thinking? 3rd and 1 on a 3rd and 1 call instead of pounding Michel up the middle, like everyone thought they were going to. They had a nice opportunity to utilize play action, or better yet, just kind of take a shot at the end zone and try and see what happens. But obviously, Michel gets stuffed for -1 yards, and the Rams elect to kick a 31-yard field goal on 4th and 2.
And everybody, all the analytics are saying McVay's not going for it when he needs to go for it. I was so happy they got those points there. I know you tweeted something out where it was like, go for it. Like, why don't you go for it? Points are important, and I think there's almost too much of a like an aggression to score sometimes. Like now in this league, when you have coaches like Brandon Staley on Monday night, like just going for it, like in his own territory, like a madman. I was happy that they got those points, and also just like in general, it's good to get your kicker just kind of feeling good.
Yeah, it is. Well, you know what? If you're looking forward into that game too, Seattle was down 6 points with 2 minutes to go and a chance to go march down the field and win the game, right? So if they're only down 3 and you don't get those points, it's an opportunity for Geno Smith to tie the game and take you in overtime, which would have made me sick,
dude. We'll get into it, but part of this was my alcohol consumption, but I didn't even realize he was in until somebody said something. Because he's driving down the field so well, and I was like, "Oh, that's Russ being Russ,"
Yeah, it was a 98-yard drive.
Yeah, like halfway through the drive, someone was like, "Oh, is that Geno Smith?" And I was like, "Nah, it's Russ." And they were like, "No, it's Geno." And I was like, "Oh my god!"
Before we get into the Geno Smith debacle, the second half, rather, in the very beginning of the second half, after that big Terrell Lewis sack, which the Rams were tasked of going 96 yards to score to finally take the lead in this game. 68 of those yards were eaten up by Deshaun Jackson. This was like the first play, it felt like, in the entire game where they finally kind of opened up the field a little bit and had one of those explosive plays that we've been waiting for. But then on a 3rd and 10, that was one of their 2 conversions on 3rd down throughout the entire game, right? So, and it was on a severely underthrown deep ball by Stafford. Stafford went on to miss Woods twice and then Kupp once prior to completing that pass. And then Henderson went on to go kind of take care of business. And then Matt Gay goes on to miss an extra point. But we might as well show the Deshaun Jackson touchdown again or the Deshaun Jackson deep ball again because I love Deshaun Jackson deep balls.
Snap was into the gut of Stafford, who airs it out for Jackson. There he is. Deshaun Jackson. Big play for the Rams inside the 50.
Couple of comments. How about our production value? 1, 2, it looks like that was shot on a potato. So for whatever reason, transferring video for me has to get better. 3,
you just were like, yo, how about us being dope? And then you were like, but let's pull it back.
Yeah, let's pull it back. And then 3, Stafford's got to pull that back a little bit, right? You either got to throw that ball so far down the field or you're just lucky the fact that ball was underthrown. Jamal Adams was right there.
See, here's the thing. When I watched that live, I was like, God, we were lucky. That was a huge underthrow. Great play, eyes up football by Deshaun. If he throws it farther, it's an interception.
Yeah.
He threw it where the ball had to go, and Deshaun made a play on it. And I think that could have been scripted, maybe not, because his finger was acting up before that.
Yeah.
But either way, that's huge. That is that's exactly what they needed in that moment. And it was after 2 pass plays as well. They passed it twice before that. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, are we really doing this? And it worked. So that's what you get when you get Matt Stafford. You get stuff like that. So
yeah. I mean, the problem is it took you 5 series to get there in this game. And then it took Darrell Henderson to kind of put the exclamation point on, simplify the game and just run the ball. But then back-to-back touchdown drives now after that. So then Russell Wilson goes on and dislocate his finger. The Rams put together a 5-play, 82-yard touchdown drive that's capped off by an incredible catch and throw by Higbee and Stafford to break the game open 16-7. And then, we kind of started with the Geno Smith Chronicles. It felt like at that point, the Rams had the game under control. But then when Geno Smith enters the game to start the fourth quarter and has to go 98 yards to score a touchdown, your Rams are up 16-7. I mean, this game may as well just end at 16-7 because there's nothing really else you have to do in this game besides stop Geno Smith and hold on to the football.
Was this after the punt, the double punt, where we just got absolutely
it was. Yeah.
Seattled.
That was earlier. I believe that was earlier on in the game, which I don't know if there's a new official ruling on that. So it's just really bizarre that actually worked out for them. But again, Seattle had a chance to win.
He was in front of the line of scrimmage when he punted that. So regardless of the ruling of if you can kick it twice or not, you're not allowed to do that. So
yeah. Well, I mean, that was just a very bizarre play.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. It's my whole thing with Geno Smith. I don't know if it's. You have to go back and kind of watch some of the film and how the defense, how the scheme looked versus Geno Smith early on when he came into the game. You can play a little bit of prevent, right? You can kind of take your foot off the gas. But then once you figure out that if you rush Geno Smith, he's going to eventually make a mistake. Like, I'm not sure why it took that long to get there. Like, why allow him to march down? You have Geno Smith at the 2-yard line. Like, why not try to get him to pull Dan Orlovsky and run out of the back side of the end zone? You know what I mean? Try to just have him make a mistake, blitz the shit out of him, and try and force a safety or a turnover or something there.
And they didn't. They didn't blitz until like halfway down the field on that drive, but they realized as soon as they did blitz, they were like, "Oh, we got it."
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Just, on both sides of the ball, there was lack of aggression. I thought we'll get to the defense in a second. The defense up front played really well, but there's just, I don't know. It just feels like there's a lack of aggression just in terms of the play calling, both on offense and defense. And obviously the defense, they're not as good statistically as they were last year. They're not as good in general as they were last year, but they've racked up only one more interception than they have compared to last year, thanks to Geno Smith, but are statistically worse in every other single category outside of interceptions. But I don't know. I thought last night on a short week in a tough environment, they did everything they could against Russell Wilson early on to, 1, stay in the game, and then 2, to be able to pull away later on in the game.
I think here's my hot defensive take.
Oh, yeah,
I thought they played just exceptionally well throughout the entire game. When it's halftime and you only give up 7 points for Seattle, My frustrations from this game came entirely from the offense, especially when just McVay in general should just 3 points at halftime. It's just pathetic. That's something that you just don't ever want to see. And I thought the defense did a pretty great job. And a lot of people want to say Morris this, Morris that, but they did a good job of holding an explosive offense, especially with Lockett and Metcalf both having kind of big numbers and a good enough.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Surgeons late in the game.
Yeah. I mean, Lockett was constantly a threat in this game, right? Robert Rochell having to kind of trail him. And then that pass interference, a 68-yard pass interference, is really one of the only reasons why they were in the position that they were early on in the game and had a lead. Right. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why Seattle was actually in the game, was just a pass interference call because Lockett was able to get behind the defender. So it's not like they have a lack of weapons, right? Alex Collins is a decent back. I don't know. It was a really good opportunity for players like Terrell Lewis. I mean, obviously Aaron Donald breaking the sack record was a moment in its own. We'll get into that too. But Terrell Lewis and these stats are courtesy of Sosa. Since the Justin Hollins injury, Terrell Lewis, second in sacks, ranks first on the defensive line, 10 pressures, ranks third, 15.7% win percentage is first, 14.3% pressure percentage is first, and then 8.3 pass rush productivity is also first. So he's been an absolute on the field, and I think he's the perfect opposite in terms of an edge rusher on the opposite side of Leonard Floyd. So you got a really good situation with the guy who you drafted early on last year, who you've been kind of managing. And if he can come along and make plays as athletic as he did on Russell Wilson, I was about as impressed as I could have been with Terrell Lewis at this point in his career. So I'm happy with what I've seen. I'm sure you felt the same way.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was very happy with what I saw. And then Donald just kind of coming in and was able to just to get pressures. And, that's something that you always love to see. Age 30 breaks the Rams' all-time sack record. Now has 88.5, which is just beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it took Leonard Little, who we watched growing up, previous owner of First Place, took him 147 games to do this as an edge rusher. Donald did it in 115 games, and not to mention he's an interior defensive lineman, which we all know. But he also has an astronomically high double and triple team rate throughout his entire career, right? So then you have Aaron Donald, being able to just impact the entire game the way that we're used to seeing against Seattle. As you look at just the overall career rankings of sacks, it goes AD, Leonard Little, Kevin Green, Kevin Carter, Robert Quinn, and then Chris Long, right? I mean, these are some incredible names throughout the Rams' history. And for Aaron Donald to do it at age 30, maybe 7-8 more years of similar productivity, which would be extremely, wishful. But at the same time, he's just going to continue to kind of tack onto this. The one thing I wanted to do before we transition into defensive backs, bless you, is I wanted to show the Leonard Floyd sack. Just in case you missed it last night, one of the most athletic plays I've seen from an edge rusher make. I know Robert Quinn was athletic, Chris Long was athletic, Leonard Little, Kevin Green, they were all great players. But this is one of the most athletic plays I've seen an edge rusher make over the last couple of years, especially against Russell Wilson.
2nd and 10. Wilson but was called down by contact on this play by Terrell Lewis, so he is still coming on.
That's what we call a sack lunch.
I had to throw that in there. But no, I mean, to be able to stay with Russell Wilson while he's running around outside of the pocket, to just have to be able to pivot, stay on your feet, especially with the bruised up, banged up knee that they've been managing, I was impressed with that play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for the people that aren't watching and are listening, I'm sure you watched the game last night though too. There was he does Russ does three separate juke moves there to try to get him to jump out of his shoes and lose him, and he just sticks with him and just keeps moving forward, burling over him, and it's just enough to take him down. It's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, really good edge rushers are incredibly balanced, and some of the most athletic guys that you'll find, right? Just being able to get around the edges. Think about the position you have to get your body into to get around the edge, or to be athletic enough to swim in and sack the quarterback. But then to get somebody like Russell Wilson, one of the most athletic players in the league, It just takes more than just pure athleticism, right? It takes balance, it takes focus, it takes plenty of professional reps to be able to make that play. And I love the progress that Terrell Lewis has made so far. How about Sebastian Joseph Day too? Had 8 tackles. He just clogs up the middle of that line, right? He's been a bright spot the entire year. He's developed into somebody who can shed a block, right? He can clog a gap and stop a run. I just liked what I've seen from him. He's so consistent. He's super durable. And then Nick Scott had the late interception on Geno Smith, assuming he came in for Darius Williams when Taylor Rapp tried to jump over him and landed on his ankle. Did you see that play?
Yeah, it's funny now. There's 2 game-ending backup QB interceptions that the Rams were able to capitalize on this year, which is crazy that they took out 2 quarterbacks because of the Rams rushing.
Yeah, they were both Aaron Donald too.
Yeah, and Aaron Donald, by the way, I'm sorry if you got to face him. Carson Wentz, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson. He just takes these guys out. And yeah, it's just the fact that the second guy comes in and then you capitalize on him coming in is a sign of a really good defense. So
yeah, I would agree. I wanted to touch on Robert Rochell too and Nick Scott. Nick Scott, late interception on Geno Smith. Robert Rochell struggled early on. Obviously, he was caught for that pass interference I talked about where he was trailing Tyler Lockett.
Which I think was the right call to pull him down because it would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, it would have been. He made a really nice play late in the game in the end zone where his body very much simulates Jalen Ramsey. I know that was kind of the comp coming out in the draft. He's the same, all of his metrics, his height, his weight, his length is all very similar to Jalen Ramsey. And the one thing that I really liked, Ramsey commented after the game on his performance and said he was unflappable despite making his first start in a hostile environment. And he was very even-keeled the entire night, which means he has the makings of a pro, right? Which was one of the first things we ever heard about Jared Goff was he's so even-keeled, you could throw an egg at his face and he won't flinch. So those are the kind of qualities that you look for in these kind of guys, right? Somebody like Robert Rochell as a draft pick comes in, steps up for David Long Jr., who struggled the week prior. Like that's exactly what we want to see. That's why the guy's drafted. So instead of having to go spend money on a free agent defensive back, if you could develop Robert Rochell the same way that you developed so much of this important personnel in this defensive back class over the last 3-4 years, you're going to be in a good spot. So I like what I've seen for him, especially you can't fail to mention too, Darius Williams signed that, the 1 year, the 1 year deal. I don't know, I'm losing the terminology. He wasn't franchised, right? But they put a first round tender on him. So somebody could have matched his deal. So next year you're going to have to re-sign him. He's got another contract you're going to have to extend. So if this is a guy you could bring along, you might have to say goodbye to Darius Williams and introduce Robert Rochell to the starting lineup full time.
Yeah. Williams also went down because Rapp stepped on his foot or something?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Rapp tried to jump over him and accidentally stepped on his foot, which was really weird. But yeah, no, I think the defense as a whole last night, outside of what we saw against Geno Smith, that 98-yard drive, was good enough to win that game, and they'll be good enough to win some of those hard-fought divisional battles in prime time.
Defense stepped up when the offense didn't, and then after the offense was able to step up, the defense kind of let their foot off the gas, which I think is totally fine because you're on the field much longer.
Yeah, like we said, we have some get-right weeks in front of us.
Yeah, and then just real quick, I kind of want to touch in on special teams. It's just crazy that Cooper Kupp is kind of this security blanket when it comes to returning punts and kickoffs. I just don't really know what's going on with Tutu. He's kind of always been a question mark. He's a big social media guy like us, which is terrifying. But I mean, he returns the punt and he stumbles right out the gate and fumbles the ball out of bounds in the first play of the game. And this is our top draft pick. So we still don't have a punt returner or a kickoff return man. Gay twice is giving them, the ball on the 40 because he's kicking it out of bounds. So that's something that just needs to be addressed right away. And he missed that extra point. I'm fine with him kicking all the field goals and the extra points. I really like Gay, but you got giving them the ball on their 40 is just inexcusable.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think being able to do that twice is something that you or I couldn't do, right? I mean, you need a kicker who can come in and be a professional and make an impact and change the game, right? My fear is that when you have somebody like Greg the Leg kick a 57-yard field goal to send you to the Super Bowl, you have a weapon. And Matt Gay, it's like a fear almost that he's going to come out and make a mistake, although he was great last year. So I'm just not comfortable with him. I don't know if you have to light a fire, or I'm not saying you have to cut him or bring somebody else in, but I don't think teams that make deep playoff runs or win the Super Bowl fall victim to this kind of stuff. So I don't want to see it. I don't expect to see it. I'm tired of seeing it. And special teams is one of those things too. How long have we been pleading to get it fixed, and they still can't do it? So
yeah, they had that amazing heads-up play of blocking the punt, and then the refs kind of saved them. So we would be singing their praises if not for some ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, how about Jameer Jones, a player that I've never even heard of in my entire life, comes in and makes a punt block?
Yeah, you love that.
What a play! The next Corey Littleton, we'll never know. No, definitely not. But that's all we got for the recap. I know your picks are coming up. But I think I'll just address the social media aspect of it for one more second. It's just difficult when you are live tweeting a game to not pour some emotion into it, right? So you want to be as unbiased as you can, but we're diehard fans, and we want to keep it straight and even keeled. And sometimes the negativity, I think, is our way to combat, some of the overwhelming positivity that comes out on this team when it's not justified. So that's all I got there.
Yeah. Also, we can disagree on Twitter. It doesn't mean that there's any bad blood in any sense of the way. We're all Rams fans. We're all here just to watch a game that we have no control over at all. To anybody that I made mad or offended or anything like that, totally sorry. I don't think I did anything that was egregious. I was just saying stuff like I miss Goff, which is just kind of part of my brand at this point.
Yeah.
But let's just, speaking of my brand, why don't we just move on over to Nick's picks, because I think we got a good week.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Transition over to Nick's picks. Time.
The hat's already backwards.
Pizza ball. All right, ready?
Let's do it.
So Nick's picks last week was not hot. We had to see this coming. We've been burning up for you, baby. And now we are going to just come in with force. The devastating Lions killed me. They beat themselves. I feel so bad for poor Jared over there in Detroit. Such a sin. Ended up going 1-4 last week. Dean's locks fell to 2-3. Not ideal. But we're back. We're back this week with some fun and games. I'm excited to get started with our first ever teaser bet on Nick's picks. But before we do that, Dean, why don't you throw us your lock?
I actually thought that the Green Bay and Cincinnati line was too low in favor of Cincinnati. A 3-1 team that's got a lot of love, a lot of praise from the
public.
A lot of
chutzpah.
And then there's another team in Green Bay that has won this game so many times over in the Aaron Rodgers era. I know that Green Bay is obviously a 3-point favorite, but I very much like Green Bay to win and cover the spread.
So Dean likes Green Bay -3.
Yeah, that's my pick.
All right. I like it. So we're going to rip a 2-team teaser right here. We're doing Green Bay +3, Patriots -3. Green Bay plays the Bengals and the Pats play the Texans. The original lines are Greeny -3 and Pats -10. But when you tease, you're allowed to take some points off the board and the odds become -110. I think after coming off a close loss to Brady's Bucks, the Pats will win this game. I'm not sure by 10. I still think the Texans have just a little bit of feistiness in them. Pats probably win about by 7. And then this Green Bay game almost feels like a stay away.
Yeah.
But the theme of this week is I'm going headfirst in the stayaways. Vegas has the line at +3 because the game's in Ohio, but still aren't they the Bengals? Are they a real threat?
That was my thought.
I don't know what's going on here. I'll take those 3 points in a tease because for whatever reason, I have this gut feeling that Green Bay is going to lose, but probably close. So I'm thinking Green Bay loses by 1 or 2. That little +3 really helps us out. And then the Pats do their job and they -3 us to victory. So
yeah,
the
you're
first
fine.
pick is
Green Bay +3. And I think that's a really good teaser.
Yeah. I like that tease a lot. Spot of tea, please. Call me Ted Lasso because we're going to London, baby. Jets at Falcons, but really at London. This is the most stay away of all stayaways, and yet here I am going directly into the fire, head first into the lava for you all. You're welcome. I guess it's just my way of being me.
Oh, am I supposed to comment after that?
I don't know. I hold for last.
I know you have
or gas.
This hold where like you're expecting me to laugh, but Maui is not always the thing that makes me laugh. All right, let's see what you got next. I'm sure there's another joke or two in the script.
I'm taking the Falcons, and I'm taking over 45.5. Here's why. Both these teams have the explosivo potential to come out and blow the other out of the water. Shootout seems to be the only thing that both of these teams are capable of to get a win. 2 star wide receivers are out for the Falcons, but I think that just sweetens the pot for Falcons money line, truthfully. Also, just straight up, I think it's just a good idea to bet against the Jets, just in general. I think you win a lot of money that way. It's just a rule. Those Jets, that Zach Wilson kid, he just never had the makings of a varsity athlete. Don't go see many Saints of Newark. It's trash, but this bet won't be. 31-24, Falcons pull out a weird one in London, and the over hits.
I actually think that's a realistic score, too, so good job on that. What the heck was up with many Saints of Newark? It felt like all of the Italian gimmicks like poured into one movie. Plus, I didn't get I thought there was going to be more Tony.
We were advertised Tony's origin story, and we got Christopher's dad. Tony's like the 6th lead in that movie. I really don't. I don't want to talk about it because it really upset me.
The Multisanti story. I know they talked about it in The Sopranos, but I mean the actual story of him is just so nasty and dark and not enjoyable.
Slight spoilers: Ray Liotta plays grandfather Multisanti. And then he plays grandfather Multisanti's twin brother. So you double down on Ray Liotta. And he looks horrible. I've got a feeling he's about to start talking about Chantix. I was so out. I was so out on that movie. And it's a sin because they casted it perfectly. They casted it so well. It's just such a shame.
Oh, you even said Chantix in like the smoker's voice.
Chantix.
That's hysterical. No, it was weird. He actually looked worse as the dad, and then they like improved his look as the brother who was in jail. So I don't know if that's just Chantix. That's awesome. All right, what else you got?
We got Broncos at Steelers. It's the first pick'em of the year, so you guys know I got to ride with the Steelers. The Steelers defense, I still think is elite. They're still going to come out here and punch you in the mouth and force you to make some big plays like Derek Carr did on them. And I just don't think Drew Lock is going to come out and look like a fireman, and firemen are hunks. And Drew Lock is neither of those things. I love pick'ems because they're usually just a sweat. And like I said this week, we're looking for all the sweats. We're going to do the flop play.
Is Bridgewater hurt?
Yeah.
Oh, he is? I didn't know that. Sorry.
It's a shame. I would probably take the Broncos if he wasn't, but he is. We're sweating it out together. I think the Denver Magic is over, and I think the Steelers are just the better team. I don't think really either of these teams are that good, but the Steelers are the better coach team. They have more weapons. I don't expect Ben to ball out, but I expect them to be good enough to win. And when it's a pick'em, I think it's always just a good idea to go with the home team. So we're going to do that. 21-7, Steelers win. Over under on that game is like 39 or 38.5. And I think that's a stay away. Let's just take Steelers money line and just run away with it.
Deal. Sounds good.
And then my quick pick for the week. I'm going to go Giants over the Cowboys. Dean's already shaking his head no. I really love what I've been seeing from Danny Dimes. I think they're a scrappy team. I still think they can win this division. I think they're really fun. Cowboys need a little bit of a reality check, and I think they're going to get it here from this Giants team.
You think the Giants still have a chance to win the division? I guess it's week 5, right?
They're only 2 games out.
Yeah, anything could happen.
And they have yet to play the Cowboys twice. So
that's true. It's very true.
I mean, the game is in. I think it's in Jerry World. So
yeah, they've had a lot. I feel like they've had a lot of games at home this year so far.
Yeah.
No, 3 of 5.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Yeah.
But let's run it back. Green Bay +3 / Pats -3 teaser. Falcons money line over 45.5 in that Falcons game.
Mhm.
Steelers money line, and then we're going to end it all with a little Giants money line. And that one's like plus 235, and it's a quick pick. So, grain of salt that one. It's the 4 other ones I really like. And those are the official Knicks picks. That's the slate.
It's going to be, a lot of these games, like you mentioned, are stay away games, but it is going to be hard to hit on all those. I do like Falcons money line and the over in that game. And I think Drew Lock stinks. The Giants, the teaser, you just got a lot riding. And I don't think they're bad. And I don't think one of them is a bad bet. I just think that they're, tricky games to win. So.
This is the hardest week that we've seen for a gambler. All these games are all kind of a little woozy, and the lines are like not comfortable lines. So I as you can see, I stayed away from the lines most of the time.
Yeah.
The Rams, I had a little LA parlay. I did a little Dodgers Rams money line this week, which I probably should have told everybody about on the last podcast episode, but also live bet the Rams when they were down 7-0 when they were underdogs. That was I don't know what drove me to do that, but
you had to figure out a way. You had to figure out a way to bring the Dodgers number down, right? Because the Dodgers were like what minus
238,
yeah, something like that,
and Rams were like minus 145. So
yeah,
it's a nice little cash bonus in my
Tricky Nick, Tricky Dick, same guy probably.
Christopher Moltisanti. Somebody on set called me, said that I reminded them of Moltisanti, and I said, "Is it the unibrow?" And they were like, "That's part of it."
Yeah, it's the copious amounts of hair all around your face.
Yeah,
because Christopher never has a beard.
No, I don't think so. I would
like to see you with the Moltisanti hair. I'm into that.
I think I'm going to get my wings.
That's my favorite character. But they couldn't do Paulie Walnuts like they did the one face. You know what I mean?
Dude, I thought
for a second.
I thought Syl and Paulie were amazing in many scenes.
No. I didn't think Syl was good.
I loved Syl.
I mean, I liked the actor and it was a good effort, but you can't duplicate him. All right, guys. For our next episode, we promised we'd talk about the Nintendo movie and Many Saints in Newark. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I don't know when we're going to be back. Might be a little bit of a hiatus since we don't begin until next Sunday. No, I'm just kidding. But we're going to have to do a preview. And then we may do an episode in between it. We're trying to get Jim Everest back on the episode. We want to get him on the video. And then we're going to try to work in a couple other special guests.
I just want to give Unky Jim just a big old hug.
Yeah, I know. Virtual hugs, not the same. Maybe he'll be at the Lions game.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe he'll come down and sit in the seat with us.
Yeah.
That was the coolest thing. That was the coolest.
He did it the most Jim Everett way too, where he just like sat next to him and just like looked at him like.
It was really funny too. He stuck out his hand, and you could tell he's got one of those like professional quarterback hands, because the hand, when it came into the shot, it was like half of the can. Everett's a big dude. Man. You can tell when he sits in his seat next to a fan. Good stuff. All right, guys.
King K roll. Why don't you send us out? Thank you, everybody, for listening.
4-1, baby. Let's keep
4-1, with the chances of going 8-1. I like that. We got the Giants coming up, the Lions coming up, Texans, Titans. We're looking good. Let's let's count our lucky stars that we won that game, and let's move on to the next week.
Yeah, somebody commented on Twitter when I listed out those games. They were like, "See a lot of trap games." So there will be some pessimism. There will be some optimism. We're going to have a little bit of it all in our next episode. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Rock out. Horns up, baby.
Horns up.